Day one takes place, as you might guess from the title, the day the creatures landed on Earth and started going after anyone and anything that was emitting a very loud sound. And it tells the story from the perspective of two characters, Sam and Eric, played by Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn, who are just trying to make it through the day and hopefully get out in one piece and live to tell the tale, all while these creatures are wiping out people left and right, and it's a no-win situation for the most part. This marks the second time they've had a day one situation in a Quiet Place movie, with the prologue of part 2 also showcasing the event from the Abbott family's perspective. I have a very fun time with these movies. I really like part 1, I really like part 2 before this. That storyline with the Abbott family, I was very invested in that, and I think John Krasinski did a good job with those. This one is directed and written by Michael Sarnowski, who did Pig a few years ago, which was in my top 3 movies of 2021. I absolutely loved that movie. And so that was immediately a massive win in terms of anticipation for this one, because I couldn't wait to see what he pulled over here. I also have a story about part 2, which is kind of ominous, because I remember seeing that movie on March 8th, 2020. I think I talked about this in my part 2 review as well, but if I didn't, I'll tell you right now. I saw that right before anything happened in terms of the COVID pandemic. That was 3 days, in fact, before they declared it a pandemic. It's just a very scary moment of time to think about. Like, that was that movie. And now I'm watching day one, New York City, event happening of this movie in the same franchise. And having enjoyed the first 2 movies, I would say I enjoyed this one also. I think that there is a very simple premise with this entire franchise, and they know exactly what to do with it. And they don't try to do anything more, they just keep it contained with that. Now, that might have its constraints, and I think that there is a point coming where you can't keep making movies with the same premise. But at the same time, this one remains pretty effective, mostly thanks to how good its 2 leads are. Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic in this movie, as I'm sure comes as zero surprise to anyone, because at this point of time, she is one of the best actors that we have in the business. I don't think I've seen anything with her and I've said, she's not good in this movie. And with Sam, you get a very emotionally connective, character, someone who you immediately, feel for and are rooting for to make it out of this situation. And the same can be said for Eric, played by Joseph Quinn, who I really liked in this. I think he was great over here. Also, there's a cat in this movie, Frodo. I love this cat. This cat is awesome. Yeah, great cat. Just wanted to shout out that. The 2 characters form a bond, which is, trying to survive and also eventually caring for each other as people. But it is also built on this thing of desperation, because the movie very much acknowledges, like, this is something no one understands, and you just have no idea how to make it out. So you're trying your best to just be as quiet as possible, and hopefully that'll do the trick. And trying to, look at what could be a weakness potentially, or something that would, help navigate through these creatures. And so in that sense, the movie plays that aspect of really, really nicely. And it makes for a very tense movie. One that will definitely have you on the edge of your seat, I feel. I mean, I was definitely propped up the entire time that I was watching this movie. And it's a movie that stays on 11 from start to finish, thanks to some really great direction and writing from Sarnowski. It's also got some really great sound design, as you've come to expect from these movies. So when it has to get loud, it gets loud, and it's extremely terrifying. Visually, this is a big movie. The visuals look great, but also this is a citywide event, so obviously there's a bigger toll when it comes to certain things happening. And in that sense, this movie definitely goes for some extremely vivid imagery when you see a destroyed New York City. There's also a lot of imagery here that's going to evoke a lot of parallels to real life events. There's a lot of moments in here that have allegories to 9/11, and you can clearly see that, especially the response immediately after an event happens. There's something right after the explosion when the first creature lands, and you go, oh shit, is that feeling of disorientation and panic which is captured very vividly. And I was impressed by the movie's ability to do that. Although it doesn't tell you too much more about dealing with the creatures or what these creatures are past a certain point. In that sense, one flaw that I do have with the movie is that there's not much new information to be gathered here. It's not that anything you've learned in the first two movies is radically transformed now because you saw something new happen. There are a few things that you see and they kind of give you some kind of, basis, like, okay, you see that thing over there, that's new, that's how, something else is expanding. Really, that's about it. It's pretty minimal when it comes to that. Beyond that, it very much remains an experience movie where you're just locked in with these two characters for about 99 minutes, just trying to get through from one spot to another. And in that way, I think the movie does excel quite well. It is a very visually solid, sonically great experience, and I was happy with the end result. It has a lot of little nitpicky issues, things that you can easily go on and on and on about in terms of, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this doesn't work, maybe that doesn't work, why is that not done, why is this done, what if the character did this instead? But my thing with nitpicks is that, does it affect the overall story that's being told? And that by the end of the movie, can I still say, hey, I got a very affecting story out of it? I did. I can say that I did by the end of this movie. So while there are nitpicks like that throughout, they're not things that I necessarily felt like they were grating at any point. But there are things that you might concern yourself with as they rack your brain over and over and over again. All that being said, I really enjoyed A Quiet Place Day 1. I think it's another really good movie in this series, and I highly recommend checking it out. Go see this in theaters because, again, that sound design, you need the biggest speakers for that thing. And you'll definitely get that experience when you go see this on the bigger screen, so make sure you make that experience count. I'm gonna give A Quiet Place Day 1 an 8.5 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies. Shh.